Hey everyone, this is Heather Vickery. You have tuned into the Brave Files podcast. Welcome. I am so happy to have you here with us today. If you've listened before, or if you follow any of my work, you've probably heard me say more than once that everything we really want is just on the other side of uncomfortable. But what if uncomfortable is your comfort zone? I had an incredible conversation with today's guest, Erika. That's Erika with a K, about her being a queer Latina first-generation American who believes that immigrant mentality is the key to true empathy and global growth. This is a fascinating conversation. Erika has an amazing story, and we could have taken it in a lot of different directions, but really where we went is something I hope everybody will listen to, share with others, and take to heart. This idea that if we all approach situations in our life as if we are an immigrant and how that breeds empathy and community and connection, it's really, really powerful. One quick note, when I first interviewed Erika, she was going by the name Erika Newman. However, in the last few weeks, she changed her name to Erika Latines. She shared the following with me about her decision to change her name. Latinez is the plural form of Latine, which is a gender-neutral term that can be used to reference people with origins in Latin America. Her name now tells the story of who she is and who her ancestors were by honoring their struggle, but also their strength, which is something she carries with her every day as she builds a legacy of love. It's truly a fantastic conversation, so get cozy and let's get started.
Oppression, resolve, human.
This is Heather Vickery, and you're listening to The Brave Files, stories from people living courageously. When we choose bravely in big and small ways, it powerfully elevates our lives. I hope these stories connect with you and encourage you to embrace bravery in every possible way, day after day. Together, we can build a movement of courageous living that enriches both our lives and our communities. And if you enjoy the show, I ask you to please share it with others. Maybe think of someone who you want to choose bravely right alongside you. Thanks for tuning in. Now here's the show. Hi, brave friends. Identity is important. That's why, in general, we gravitate towards people and communities that look like us because we want to feel safe. We want to feel valid and seen. But what happens when we don't look like what other people expect us to look like, or when we don't behave the way others expect us to behave? How do we create the world we want for ourselves and our loved ones when we are, by design, out of the box? Today, I'm talking with Erika Newman, that's Erika with a K, about being an immigrant but not looking like one, about not fitting in anywhere, so deciding to fit in everywhere and defying almost all of the odds that were greatly stacked against her. I am excited for this conversation. Erika with a K, welcome to the Brave Files.
Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here to have this great conversation with you.
I'm excited. We've talked a couple of times and it's lovely. And listeners are like, why with the K thing? Why are we doing that? I kind of did it tongue in cheek, but do you want to explain? It's your email, it's your go-to, it's your tagline. Tell folks why you do that.
I think speaking on the vein of what you were saying is identity is important and our names are important. They matter. And just from a historical perspective, a cultural perspective. And for me, my name is Erika with a K. That K matters to me. It's not a C, it's not a CK, it's a K. And it's an invitation I am making to other people to let them know it's not just about me, but it's also letting them know your name also matters to me. I'm highlighting my name because I want you to highlight your name. So it's an invitation to a conversation. And it's also just fun. It sounds fun. And I'm terrible with names. And I used to do tons of networking. And I still love to just meet new people. And it's a fun way for people to remember my name.
Yeah.
If they remember nothing else, they're like,
they will.
Oh, yeah, you're Erika with a K.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I love that so much. And I value that so much. And names are wildly important. I, like, as a super privileged middle-class white girl, have a pretty average name, but for some reason, people always want to call me Vicky. I mean, obviously, the some reason is my last name is Vickery, but they somehow they lose the Heather, and I get very angry.
Yeah.
Very angry.
Yes, exactly. It's and all names, even if you say it's common, it doesn't matter. It's your name. It is important. It's Heather with an H.
It's Heather with an H, not Vicky. Thank you. I remember in middle school, I had a history teacher. He was a dick. And I love history, and I've always loved history. And he called me Vicky like for a whole year. And finally, like the last week of class, he called me Vicky, and I just didn't answer. And he said, I am talking to you. Why are you ignoring me? And I said, you are not talking to me because my name is Heather. If you were talking to me, you would know my name. He was like, oh, sorry. I'm so pissed. Anyway.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
Out of the mouth of
names
a 12-year-old,
are
right?
important.
Yeah, names are important. Okay.
Well, wisdom comes from the youth because they don't lie. They're so honest and truthful.
Oh
so,
my goodness.
Yeah.
That is a true statement. Just a few weeks ago, we did an interview here with Daruv Pai, who is this incredible 16-year-old that started an international nonprofit as a sophomore in high school. So these kids, they give me all the love. They give me all the feels. We should listen to them more intently, I think.
And I listened to that interview, and it was incredible. And incredible.
Thanks, Erika.
Yes, youth are just the best. They are the best teachers. They are the best teachers. They think they're students, but I see them as my teachers.
I agree. Oh my gosh, I love that. And that's an interesting segue into, I mean, you have a lot of story, and we are not going to be able to get to all of your story in this time frame. And I've a little bit painfully sort of picked out a few things that I think we can really dig in and get meaty with. And I hate that we had to leave some of it out, but, maybe we'll do a follow-up interview. One of the things, and this is for you as youth, that you said to me that really resonated with me, I would like to talk about your personal immigrant story, and especially the role you played as someone who didn't look like an immigrant, what that means and why. I mean, I'm somebody who doesn't look like a lesbian, and then woke people go, what does a lesbian look like? I'm like, well, duh, we know that, except I don't look like a lesbian, and nobody assumes that right off the bat, right? So tell us your immigrant story, and then let's talk about that identity piece a little bit.
Absolutely. And I know exactly how you feel. People look at me the same way. I didn't know you were a lesbian. You don't look like one. So I'm with you, Heather. I connect with you on that one.
My daughters always say if I write a personal memoir that it should be called Not Your Typical Lesbian. Sorry.
I love that. I'm going to coin that, but in Spanish. You'll do the English version. I'll do the Spanish version.
I love it. Let's do it. We can cross promote. Okay. All right. I'm sorry to digress.
No, please don't apologize, because when I say, I guess, that I am an immigrant, it's interesting because even from an immigrant, I challenge what that means, because I feel that I was an immigrant from birth. I'm a first generation born in the U.S. of immigrant parents. My parents are from Mexico, and I'm very proud to say that I'm Latina. And I was born and raised on the south side of Chicago. And as a teenager, we moved to Texas, which was that's an immigrant story right there, because it's
from
a
Chicago
shift.
to Texas. What part of Texas?
And the border, El Paso,
wow.
Which in and of itself is a completely different world.
So then all of a sudden you were white, right? You are not.
Well, that's also interesting that you should say that. No.
Okay. I shouldn't assume that, but I just figure when you switch cultures that quickly, the one that you've been immersed in then presents itself more. I don't know. I shouldn't have made an assumption.
Well, no, that's okay. See, that's the complexity of my story, is that, and I'll go back to that. So then I moved to Texas, and then when I was 19, just a few years later after I graduated, I moved to Mexico.
Okay.
So then that's a whole nother level of immigrant, because then I was
an immigrant,
very much a foreigner. Yeah. I always joke and say I thought I was bilingual until I moved to Mexico. And then I realized I was not bilingual. I spoke Spanish. I grew up, that's my first language, but I wasn't bi-literate. I wasn't bi-cultural until I actually moved to Mexico. And then I was humbled. And then I knew what it was like to be a true immigrant in every sense of the word and to face all of that. And I actually lived in Canada as well for almost a year. And I worked there undocumented. So I have had that experience as well, and knowing what it's like to work without having the right documentation to work in a particular country.
Wow.
And then I moved back here to the States. And I can't tell you the sheer terror I felt that first day I went into work. I was expecting in any moment that some sort of law enforcement would come in and just drag me
And
out in
this is in
cuffs. I was
Canada?
terrified in Canada, which no
Whoa.
one thinks of Canada as a scary place, but
We don't really. But
we don't. But for me, it became just, I was terrified, and it
yeah,
gave me a real, it was extremely humbling. And even now, I just want to cry because this is not about me. In that moment,
you
I knew what it
understood.
was like to be
Yeah.
understood, the fear, the pain of my own parents, because when they came to the US, they were undocumented.
Yeah. Wow.
And when you say white, there's a complexity there because my skin tone is not of what, again, what, as you were saying, people think of when they think of a Latina. They think that to be Latina is to be short, dark, round,
Ay, ay, ay.
and long hair and probably braids. That is a stereotype because that is all people
Of
think of,
course.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I don't fit a lot of the stereotypes because I'm not tall, but I'm 5'7". I'm very light skinned. I have green eyes. I don't fit the stereotype. And I joke that sometimes my own people don't believe I'm one of them.
Oh, man.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's really interesting. I like what you said, and it's true. I don't fit in anywhere. So I have learned to fit in everywhere because I am female, I am Latina, I am queer, I am light skinned. So there's the whole colorism issue. And so when I moved to Mexico, there was a lot of assumptions made. When I
Yeah.
live here, people make assumptions. So it doesn't matter where I go. So I'm always an immigrant. And I think if we all lived in the mindset that we are all immigrants, then we would live in a much more humane,
Right?
compassionate world
Oh,
because we're all immigrants. Because when you start a new job, that's a new world that you're
yeah.
walking into. It's a whole new culture.
Yeah.
It's a whole new language of acronyms of all of it. So being an immigrant is not just from one country to another. It can be from one school to another, one neighborhood to
Wow.
another.
I love that so much because if we could adopt that perspective globally, we would, I think, enter new situations more tenderly, be so much more understanding and patient with those who are other from us, different from us. I just see so much potential. That's the book I want you to write. Right? We talked about it the other day, Erica. I was like, you're going to write the book. Yeah, I think you have about 6 books, maybe 10. I'm not sure. I want to help you. I can't wait. But I would read, like, almost from a business perspective, I would read that book, like how to treat your transition like you're an immigrant. Is like, it's a really powerful concept, and it's a rewrite and a reframe that I think a lot of people could take value from. Something that you said to me before, I have a phrase that I say to folks all the time is everything you really want is just on the other side of uncomfortable. And
Mm-hmm.
you said never fitting in is your comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. Which aligns with that.
Yeah.
I have become comfortable with being uncomfortable. The uncomfortable is comfortable to me because it is familiar, and it is when I don't feel uncomfortable that is jarring to
Well,
me
it's a
because
sign
then
that you're not doing anything new or exciting or worthwhile, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm not growing. I'm not evolving. I'm not being challenged. And the thing is, I have been challenged from from the womb. My existence was not meant to be, was not wanted by this society, by these systems, by the world in
Can
general
you
for so many
tell
different
us a little bit
reasons.
more about that?
Um, it's feeling. unwanted and rejected from when I can remember, from the first use of memory that I possibly have. It's never feeling wanted, always feeling unwanted,
Is
whether
this with your
it was
family, with your parents?
even with my parents. I think even with my parents, there was my parents loved me very much, and and all of that, but they were very confused by me.
Mm.
They were very confused by me because they weren't sure who I was. And that's the other part, is that when we are born, we are aliens as babies coming out into this world. It's interesting. It's a different mindset, and it's a perspective that I challenge people to think about. It's when a baby comes into this world, it's alien to them. Everything about it is alien, from the smells to the sounds to the temperature to all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to my parents, I was alien to them. They weren't sure what to do with me because I was so inquisitive.
Mm.
I was, I was, I was not the typical kid they expected as a traditional Mexican Catholic family, even from the age of 4. I was watching the Iran-Contra affairs. Instead of watching
That's
cartoons,
amazing.
this is what I was watching. I was watching the Iran-Contra affairs, and I remembered this, and I remember the little wheels turning in my head, and I'm just like thinking to myself, I'm like, well, that's not right, and this and that. And they didn't know what to do with a kid that was trying to talk politics. It made no sense to them.
Right. I mean,
They didn't understand me.
even in this very politically woke climate, a 4-year-old doing that would be shocking, even today.
Well, I was probably 8 at the time, because that was mid
Okay.
80s
Yeah, it was.
Iran-Contra
Yeah.
affair. So to be fair, I was probably around 8. But even then, so I spoke a language that they didn't speak, as far
Ever,
as
right? Your
English.
you
But
always translated for your parents.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was their interpreter. So when it comes to people asking me, well, what's your business background? What's your experience? I'm like, well, let's see. I've been an executive assistant since I was 4 years old. I can, administrative and filing and
Wow. That's so much pressure, Erika.
yes, but it's not something that only I face. It's something that all children of immigrant
Yeah.
parents face,
Wow.
because it's just what you do, because your parents don't understand. You become their ambassador. You become their bridge. You have to. It's what you do to survive. It's not even about thriving. It's just about trying to survive. And when my parents are just struggling to put food on the table and dealing with systematic racism and discrimination every single day, and dealing with being bullied at work, and dealing and by being bullied with just everything as a challenge, you need your child
Yeah.
to do the things that
Wow.
you cannot do. And I I've always been a caretaker. I call myself a fixer.
Mm.
I'm a professional fixer. I'm good at fixing things. That's what I've always done. And it is a lot of pressure. And I see it as an honor and a privilege to be able to have done that for my parents, continue to do it to this day. But yeah, it's a weight
Wow.
that a 4 or 5-year-old shouldn't have to carry, because you don't have the vocabulary.
That's exactly it.
Um,
Yeah. You don't have to
and it's
process it.
scary.
So
And it's
as you
scary.
moved into adulthood, teenager, different city, different country, adulthood, how did this sort of manifest in your life? What did you gravitate towards work-wise, and how did you, or have you, shed, for lack of a better term, this identity of always having to take care of others? I'm not sure you have.
No, and my therapist will tell you that I have not. I am a caretaker. That I am a
Yeah.
cheerleader. I was literally the mascot my senior year of high school, and I love to cheer people on. I'm all about the team. I am all about elevating other people's voices, because mine was always silenced. So I think I found my voice by helping others find theirs. And I gravitated towards that naturally. When I moved to Mexico as a 19-year-old, I didn't even know how to answer a phone properly. And because I spoke English, that was my one saving grace. I was pulled into international business.
Oh, yeah.
It gave me a window into a world of the 1% that I never thought I would get to, because I didn't have the pedigree. I didn't have the Ivy League. I had nothing. All I had was a high school degree. But the English is what threw me into the deep end. And next thing you knew, I was in international business, not knowing how the heck I got there. But let me tell you, I had to learn real quick because I didn't have a choice or an alternative. And it was the best master slash PhD program life ever gave me because I learned how to be resourceful, resilient, strong, brave,
Yeah.
unapologetic.
Yes.
And
Hell
it
yes.
was it was terrifying. And I was very silent in a way in that time. I still hadn't found my voice because I was still figuring out who I was. But that was phenomenal. So when I came back to the States and I became an executive assistant
Of
from day
course.
one, that was just I became the right hand to the CEO because they needed someone that could speak to the English clients, that could be their interpreter and their cultural interpreter as well, and be able to be that bridge. So I had to learn how to speak proper, not just academic, but business Spanish, but also I had to learn how to speak proper business English. So it was an education on top of an education. And I'm so grateful for it because when I came back to the States, I had learned how to become a chameleon in the best of ways. I could blend and go, I could speak to a laborer about what they were doing on the line in the factory, right to the boardroom and have
Wow.
that executive level
I mean,
conversation.
that's an, oh, I can't imagine a large corporation anywhere in the world that doesn't want that person. I mean, to see that perspective from all sides. What was the most difficult part of that? That feels like kind of a trite question, but sort of bridging that gap between the people on the ground, on the floor, in the factory or wherever, and the people in the boardrooms. What was the hardest part about bridging that?
Humanity, the lack of humanity, the lack of the people, for example, on the manufacturing floor were literally scared of the people upstairs
Of
because
course
the
they were.
offices were up the stairs,
Yeah.
because the offices had a wall of windows that looked down onto the manufacturer so they can keep an eye on them. So literally and figuratively, it had this psychological effect on the people there. It's like, we see you, we look down on you, we're watching you. So it's very 1984 in a way, and they were literally scared. And a lot of these people didn't know how to read or write, and they had their labor. That's what gave them value. But I will tell you, Heather, that these individuals to this day, and I want to cry about it now, they taught me more about what it means to be a human being than anyone else ever has. Their intelligence, my goodness, they're so smart, so wicked smart, and yet so undervalued and underestimated.
Mm,
And then you have these people that are upstairs in the boardrooms making these business decisions. They don't see individuals. They didn't see them the way I did. I got
sure.
to know their
Yeah.
names, their likes, their pains, their children's names. They just saw them as a commodity, as expendable. And I will say, for the record, my grandfather did not know how to read or write. My father had a fourth grade education, my mother a seventh grade education. And I have learned it's not about the degree, it's not about the years you have in a brick and mortar school. It's about the experience that life gives you and how you choose to allow that to educate you, and the type of person you want to be and how you choose to walk through the world. That's real education to me. That's substance.
Yeah. I love all of that so much. I agree with you in every way. You have taken, and I'd love for you to share with the folks listening, you have taken this idea of giving voice to the voiceless, of supporting and showing up and educating and encouraging. You've taken it all the way. Tell people how the different ways that you do that now.
Thank you for giving me that opportunity. Some of the many ways is that I'm a poet. I write poetry,
I love that.
Spanish and English, and I use my spoken word, my slam poetry, to connect with youth, with people, to tell stories, to tell mine, to tell the stories of others. And I have found that it is a tremendous way to connect with others through my poetry, storyteller. I work for a nonprofit where I have the honor and privilege of working with youth, for youth, I always tell them, I work for you. My job is to work for you. And it is really about giving them the platform they need to be able to elevate their voices. I also volunteer my time with various nonprofits, and a few years ago I was certified as I got a certification as an interpreter. So that's part of the work that I do and I still do it now wherever and anytime I can. I volunteer as an interpreter and or a translator. So so people know, to translate is the written word. So sometimes it's things that are written that need to be translated, and to interpret is when you interpret spoken word. So sometimes I'll do
Oh,
stuff as a
yeah.
translator
Thank you
where I'll
for
also
that.
translate.
Yeah, distinction. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't know that. If people don't teach you that, you don't
Right,
know
of
that.
course.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But when it comes to people, for example, that are trying to apply for their residency or citizenship, I'm always happy to help them fill out papers or documents, or just try to help them make sense of it, because I can't even figure it out, and I speak English, and I'm also an interpreter. Whether it's in the grocery store and I see someone struggling, I'm always the first one to step in because I see my mother in them. I see my aunt in them. I see a grandmother. I Every person is my person. Every person is my family. Anyone that needs help, I am there,
Mm.
because I wouldn't be here today, Heather, if it wasn't for those people that have stepped in to be my helpers along the way. We all need helpers. It takes a village to walk through this world.
Yeah.
And I would be reticent if I was to say, well, I got here on my
No
own.
way.
No. Oh,
No.
gosh.
I love
No.
that though. It takes a village. Say it again. What did you say? It takes a village?
It takes a village to walk through this
Takes a
world.
village to walk through this world. Yes, we talk about it taking a village to raise children, and I believe that. I know that to be true, but I love this idea that sometimes it just takes a village to get through and survive and be brave and to show up and to wake up and to move through. And I call it my personal board of directors. We just wrapped up doing the Brave Method workshop, which I do 2, 3 times a year. And I coach people on making sure that they have a personal board of directors, people from all of the different elements of their life for just that, just what you're saying, like so that you have that community. We're not designed to do this alone. It is not. So people who think they got to figure it all out on their own or solve all their own problems or all of that, we don't thrive that way.
Mm-mm. No. And I think something also that's important about that village, and kind of like you're saying, your board of directors, I think of it as my village, is not everyone's going to live in your village forever, and nor do they have to. And you're not going to live in the same village. That's part of being an immigrant for me. That's my mindset, is I'm always moving. Life is always changing. So it's okay if someone is a part of my life for just a short time. It doesn't mean that they're leaving out of my life is a negative thing. It simply means growth, evolution, moving on, transition. And it just, we were meant to be a part of each other's journey for that moment. And I appreciate them just as much. And I celebrate them just as much. And I think that's also important. And that's my immigrant mindset for me is I'm always grateful. I'm always walking with gratitude because I'm always grateful. And every person I come in contact with, they have touched my life and I have touched theirs. We have now left an echo of each other and each other's path,
Oh,
and we
Erika.
are forever connected.
Oh, Erika. Please write the book. I mean, it's just so magical. All of it. First of all, you said gratitude, and my whole body tingles because that's my jam. Um, we are connected. There's so magical and beautiful that every encounter, every engagement makes an imprint in one way or another. And for you to be so aware of it, does it? Are you an empath?
Oh gosh, too
Yeah,
much,
that's what I was
too
gonna
much.
say. How do you
Yeah.
balance all of that? Because I feel just from listening to you how much you mean this and how much you feel it, and then instantly I go, "Holy shit, that's a lot." And like, how do you take care of yourself?
Lots of therapy.
Everybody needs a therapist.
um, no, I think I found a word that I kind of like. It's called it's ambivert. I
Yes,
don't even know
me
if I'm
too.
saying it right,
Ambivert.
but
Yeah, I think that's what I
yeah,
am too. Yeah, yeah.
I identify with that. So I'm very much an introvert, and I have parts of an extrovert, and it is very, very overwhelming to feel so much. I feel times 10. I do this all day, every day, where I feel so much. And it's a blessing and it's a curse, but it is something that I welcome, because if not, I would be an asshole. There's no other way to put it, because I would be unaware. I would just walk through this world feeling entitled and privileged. And I'm grateful that I feel so much. I'll take all of it, the darkness with the brightness. And I allow myself to fall apart. That's what it is for me,
Oh,
Heather.
oh,
I
thank you
allow
for
myself, I
saying
give
that.
myself permission to fall apart. And there's days and moments where I just literally am in darkness. I isolate, I retreat from the world, from all of it. I shut it all down. I go into my room and I just cry till my ribs hurt. I bawl till my eyes are swollen. All of it. And you know what? That's okay. People are afraid of emotion. And I don't know why every single time someone cries in an interview and something, they're like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Why are you apologizing for being human? I allow myself to feel. And as an immigrant, as people that are immigrants who go through so much suffering, so much pain, that feel so much, they're slapped in the face with it all day, every day. We have no choice but to feel. And it's important that we allow ourselves to feel. And I let myself feel. That's how I get through it. I let myself feel. I give myself permission. I celebrate it. And it's not because I'm feeling sorry for myself. It's because I'm giving myself permission to be human and saying, you know what? It's okay. Feel it all. Feel it. Because after it's all out of my system, then I'm just recharged, renewed,
Yes.
and I am ready to get out there and kick ass and face the world again and say, who needs help? Where are you? I'm here for you. What do
Oh
you
my
need?
gosh. Erica, I have all the feelings. I know my listeners and they're all like jaw dropped right now because we talk about that. I teach it, I coach it, but I don't know that I've ever met anybody else who does it and who claims it, like you just did, that you are okay because you allow yourself to not be okay sometimes. And if that means you rearrange the schedule and lay in, for me, I'd be in the bathtub, lay in the bathtub and cry for 24 hours, like whatever it is. And then you pick yourself back up, resilient as fuck, and you get back out there and do the thing you were meant to do. I need you in my pocket. Like I need a pocket Erica with a K, just to remind me of that. I'm gonna say it again. You need to write the book, Erica. Okay.
You know
Yeah.
what, Heather? I won't take credit for it though. I just like, as you know, I talk a lot about intergenerational trauma, and that is part of what I carry. The other thing I carry is the generations of my ancestors. I carry their strength,
Yes.
their battles, their victories. I also walk with that. They are the ones who give me this strength. They are the ones who teach me to pick myself back up. And a lot of this I get from my mother. She is the hero of my life. And I claim that and I say it. She is the hero of my life. I saw this from her, and I don't know, Heather, how she had the strength and continues to have the strength. But I remember her as a child. I remember her crying. I remember her just completely in pieces. And yet she would still get up and face the world the very next day, regardless of her pain, regardless of all her isolation and desperation that she felt. And she didn't have a support system. She didn't have therapy. She didn't have the knowledge, the access to the internet that I have, the et cetera, dot, dot, dot. And she did it with nothing but herself.
Wow.
And I mean, geez, talk about humbling. That's humbling. And people wonder why I have imposter syndrome. I mean, geez, how
Oh,
can I live up to
stop.
that? I
Okay,
mean,
now
come
see,
on.
now you just took no, no, no.
I know you're going to call me out
I'm
on it. You're not
totally
going to let me
gonna
joke about it.
call you out on that. First of all, it isn't what your mother would want for you because it's not about
No.
living. So one of my favorite quotes is from someone that I consider a mentor, Benjamin Zander. I don't know him personally, but I wildly adore him. And he says, we don't give children a name to live up to. We give children a name to live into. And I feel like what your mother has passed down to you, it isn't for you to live up to. It's for you to live into, and you do.
And thank you for saying that. Because no, I do. I genuinely believe that. I do genuinely believe that. I mean, of course, yes, I have those moments of inadequacy issues and all of
Because
that, which,
human.
considering
Hello, human.
because I'm human, because I've been through so much trauma,
Yeah.
and it's to be expected, and I do, and I like to mention it and talk about it because I do embrace it. I have been diagnosed with complex PTSD. And for me, talking about mental health, it should be no different than talking about getting the vaccine for COVID or having the flu, or it's part of being human.
Yeah.
It's just part of me. It doesn't define who I am, but
Yeah.
I talk about it. But I recognize that.
Yeah.
I recognize how valuable I am and the gift my parents gave me and my ancestors have given me to be here right now in this moment and in this time. It is a gift. And I am unique and beautiful. And like I always say to the youth when I have an opportunity to do my speaking engagements, I say to them, because I believe it for myself, I said, in all the history of humanity, there has never been another you. You are unique. You are perfect as you are. Think about that for one moment, that there has never been another you and there never will be. The magic and the power of that. Why would you want to be anybody else but you?
Yeah.
Because you has never been done before. And I believe that. And
Yeah.
I love myself as I am, flawed, beautiful, perfect, all of it.
All of it.
Because I celebrate myself, and I can't tell others to celebrate themselves if I'm not going to do it
There you
myself.
go. And that was the next thing that I was going to ask you. And I love it. You've said it twice now. You said that you celebrate the falling apart and you celebrate yourself. I ask every week in this interview, I said, how do you celebrate? Will you share with it sounds like you're really deeply connected with celebration, which just further proves that you're my people. And I'm so excited to have you in my world. But what does it mean to you to celebrate, and how do you celebrate?
I I celebrate every day. I live very intentionally because of my complex PTSD. I'm grateful for it in the sense that, and also because I was chronically ill for 10 years of my life and I wasn't supposed to make it to the age of 30. I've faced my mortality. I'm very, very acutely aware that every moment I have is a gift, and I try to make the best of it. So I celebrate intentionally all the time, and it's just with gratitude. I mean, geez,
Yeah.
there's days that we have candlelit breakfast here at home.
I love
It'd be my
that.
wife and I, and we'll have candlelit breakfast. It doesn't matter, the sun's out shining. I'm like, why can't we light the candles? We're celebrating. It's Tuesday. Let's have Tuesday candlelit breakfast. Why not? Who says you can't break out the good wine on a random Thursday night? I don't do anniversaries, Heather. I don't do birthdays. I don't do holidays, because for me, every single day is a birthday. Why should I only celebrate the birth of someone I love one day a year? You know what? I celebrate you every day. Because I love you, I celebrate you every day. And I don't need someone to tell me that on this holiday I'm supposed to celebrate you. No, I'm grateful every day. I'm not, it's just that's just my mindset. That's just how it is for me. So I celebrate every day, all the time. It's like today is the only thing I have. I don't know if tomorrow will come. Today is here now. Why wait till tomorrow to celebrate? And even if all I'm celebrating is the fact that I was able to get out of bed and
Yeah.
brush my teeth because my depression is so acute that day, I am grateful to myself and I
Yeah.
celebrate myself. That I say, you know what, Erica, today was a hard day, but you still brushed your teeth.
Yeah.
You still got out of bed.
Yeah.
Then that's okay.
Whew. You're such a gift. And I know my listeners are like, wait, I want to hear more. I want to hear all of the personal stories. And so I feel like we're for sure going to just have to have you back on. I really wanted to focus on this concept of identity, of existence, of claiming space, supporting other people claiming space. And you're just such an outrageous gift. Your tenderness is palpable. Your soul is visible in the way you talk, in the way you connect, in the cadence of your voice. I just, I could just listen to you talk forever.
Well, I feel the same way about you, Heather.
Oh, you're so sweet.
You have these pearls of wisdom, and it is a powerful thing when one can see oneself reflected in someone else, and there's that magic, there's that human connection, and it is just that energy. And so this is a gift.
Thank
And
you.
I'm celebrating this moment right now, right here with you.
Oh, me too. So much celebration. I love it. And I love that you are so connected with gratitude. Do you have a gratitude practice? Like other than obviously you live it and breathe it, but like is there an additional intentional practice?
Um, no, I think just the way I live my life every day, that is, I practice just living my life that
Yeah.
way,
Yeah, I
just
can hear
living with
that.
gratitude.
Yeah.
Just, yeah, that's just, yeah. And sometimes it's dancing in the kitchen when I'm cooking, and sometimes it's tooting when no one's looking. I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah. I dig
I
it.
mean, it's,
Yeah.
and everything in between. Why not?
I love that. Well, for those of you listening who don't know this, I've written two gratitude journals. One is for adults and one is for kids and families. So if you aren't quite at this immersion level of gratitude that Erika is, and that I think most of the time I am, but not always, we'll put the links in the show notes if you're interested in grabbing a journal to help you get started, because sometimes having some guidance is helpful in that. But as you've heard Erika praise and attest, gratitude changes everything. And it actually does, right? The science behind it says that if you practice gratitude on a consistent and regular basis, you stimulate your parasympathetic nervous system, decrease stress and anxiety, you cope better, you feel more connected to the universe, to yourself, to other people. And you've heard Erika shout that in her very quiet, mannered, calm way. It sounds like shouting because it is so impactful. I love that.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you. And I can't wait to get my gratitude journal actually from you. So I'm going to be ordering.
Well,
I'm going to
I
be
would
ordering
love to
one.
just send you one. So make sure I have your
I will.
address and I'll give you
I
one
will use
as a
it.
gift.
I will
I would
use
love
it.
that. Thank you. All right. Well, so first, before I ask you the last actual question I have, will you come back another time and we can dig in on a different part of your story? I know the listeners are going to want to hear it.
It'd be an honor and a privilege, Heather.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for this platform.
Absolutely. We'll make that happen. And maybe by then you can tell us about the book that you're going to write, because I'm going to make sure you read it. Okay, Erika with a K, what is your favorite charitable organization to support? I suspect this is a hard question for you.
One in particular is very near and dear to my heart. It's called YEP, Youth Empowerment Performance Project. And they are in Chicago. And I became friends with the executive director and co-founder of it in 2011, which is the year it was started. And it was the year I came out. So it's very personal and dear to my heart. And you will like this. Their mission is to create a brave environment
I love it.
for LGBTQIA plus youth that are experiencing homelessness, because that is also part of being an immigrant, is not having a place to call home. And so many youth are kicked out on the street, especially if they are first generation and they're from immigrant communities. Parents don't understand that. They kick them out on the street. They have no place to call home. And YEP provides that for them. And they use the arts to allow them to heal and address their struggles, but also to celebrate their strengths. So we say yep.com is the
That's awesome.
their website. But yeah, so YEP, I love them. They're incredible, the work that they do. And they're a great organization. They're not a big, well-funded one.
And they're a new
yet
one
they're
for
doing
me. So I'm excited, especially since they're local, to figure out how we can get involved. They will be our charity of the week. So listeners, as I ask you every week, so get to know them, even if it's some social media likes and shares and support. But if you have time or money, or even if you want to refer them to somebody who could utilize their services, let's do that, because we are called upon right now more than ever to come together as a global community of people to lift each other up and support one another. Oh, goodness. Erika, thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Thank you for lifting me up and for being a light in this darkness sometimes that we all see.
Absolutely. Erika, will you give us your 3 words one last time?
Oppression, resolve, human.
Yes. So much resolve, so much human. And I know you described a little bit of this feeling of oppression, but I can't help but see that hasn't kept you down, that you keep pushing through, you keep rising.
I have to.
Yeah.
I have to. It's not a choice. It's just forward. Movement is life. Movimiento es vida. And that itself is a poem right there, those three words. Without movement, things die. If a river does not move, then it starts to stink and smell bad and it dies. The fish die. There's no more life in it. So it's just movement. It's life.
Okay, so just like one wonderful, joyful truth bomb after another this entire episode. Everybody's going to be like commenting, pause, write this down. We're going to have quotes everywhere. I can't wait. Again, Erika, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your heart and your soul with us. Thank you for giving us a tiny insight into the immigrant experience and this magical idea of how can we approach our lives from that perspective, and one of curiosity and patience and kindness. I'm so grateful for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. I hope to talk to you soon.
We will do that for sure. Oh my gosh, listeners, I can't wait to hear what you think of this episode. I would love for you to share your thoughts. You can give us a call at 312-646-0205. You can email me, heather@vickeryandco.com, or send me a DM on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the places at Vickery & Co. in all of those places. I want to hear what you love, what resonated with you, how you're out choosing bravely. I respond to every message personally and directly, so let's get that dialogue going. If you like what you're hearing here in the Brave Files, then I urge you to come and join us in the Brave on Purpose Collective, where we are a community of people who are leveraging our fears into intentional bravery. Because what we know for sure is that when we choose bravely on purpose, we choose bigger, we win bigger, and it's contagious. For now, this is Heather Vickery reminding you today and every day to go out and choose bravely. I'll talk to you next week. Hey friends, I want to share something really exciting with you. We already know you enjoy listening to podcasts because you're listening to this one, but I'm also betting you enjoy audiobooks. And hey, listen, if you don't already enjoy audiobooks, then it's time to check them out. That's why I'm really excited to share Libro.fm with you. They are an incredible new platform for listening to audiobooks. And by choosing Libro.fm over other audiobook services, you are supporting a local bookstore of your choice and investing in your local community. Libro.fm offers over 150,000 audiobooks via their primary platform, which, by the way, they built with love and from scratch because they're a small business also. They even offer bookseller recommendations for great audiobook options. You can sign up right now via www.vickeryandco.com/LibroFM. That's vickeryandco.com/LIBROFM. And when you do, you'll get one free audiobook of your choice, and the proceeds will go to your favorite local bookstore. Now, check what I just said there. You're going to get a free book, and the proceeds are still going to go to your local bookstore because Libro.fm makes sure that their booksellers get paid even when they give a promo to customers. I've listened to over 20 audiobooks this year alone. I especially love listening to memoirs read by the author, and it feels great knowing that all of my purchases support my local bookstore, The Book Table, in Oak Park, Illinois. Libro.fm. The same audiobooks, the same price, but a completely different story. Check them out right now at vickeryandco.com/LibroFM. Have you ever thought about starting a podcast? Maybe you've had this thought and then quickly shut it down because who has the time? Or you don't know how, or gosh, it just all seems too hard. If you have something to share with the world, we want to encourage you to get your message out. The world needs to hear it. Did you know that 50% of all homes are podcast fans? If you've ever wondered about having your own podcast or how it can increase your business or get your message across, then please join me and the other experts from the Podcast Power Academy for our monthly free Q&A session. It's called So You Want to Start a Podcast? This casual live conversation will help you understand how podcasting can be a great decision, why now is the best time to get started, and how to get into action with it. Visit podcastpoweracademy.com to learn more. You've been listening to The Brave Files, stories of people living courageously. To learn more about the show, find our show notes and full episode transcripts, or to get some great bonus content, visit thebravefilespodcast.com. And we would love to know what you think of the show. You can give us a call at 312-646-0205. Let us know your thoughts on the episode, the show in general, or maybe share with us how you're out choosing bravely. This episode is brought to you by Vickery & Co. Success Coaching. Coaching that helps you maintain a life well lived and a business well run. Learn more at vickeryandco.com. Our music was created and produced in a custom collaboration with Matt Lewis from ML Creative Consulting, a boutique firm dedicated to helping clients identify their unique sound and amplify their brand with custom delivered soundtracks. We couldn't do any of this without our extraordinary audio engineer, Andrew Olson. Learn more about him and check out his work at findandrewolson.com. And special thanks to everyone on Team Brave, from our producers, associate producers, copy editors, writers, and support team. Special thanks to Molly, Mary, Kim, Sabra, and Sabrina. I'm your host and executive producer, Heather Vickery. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.